we're starting the second half of this lesson. Okay, so we're in review lesson B, and this is part 2 of today's lesson. So now we're talking about, we moved on from triangles, we're going to be talking about circles and trapezoids. So remember that a circle is just a bunch of little points all connected in one round thing. So a perfect circle, it's equidistant from a certain point in the middle. If you see right here, here's my middle point in this circle. Each part of the circle is equally distant from that middle point. We call from the center of the circle outward our radius. That's our radius, from the center of the circle to the outer edge of the circle. If you go from the outer edge through the center to the other outer edge, we call that the diameter. So that's all the way across the circle through the middle. So across the circle through the middle is the diameter. Just the middle to the edge is the radius. So notice that the radius is from the center to the edge. The diameter is from the edge to the center, from the center to the edge. So the diameter is 2 radii. It's 2 of the radius going all the way across. So whatever your radius is for the circle, if you multiply that by 2, you get the diameter. So these two circles are exactly the same. If the radius of this circle is 2, what's the diameter of the second circle? Well, it's 2 times 2, because from here to here is 2, and from here to here is 2. So all together, the diameter of my circle is 4. Very good. Now that's important information. Make sure you have that stored in your brain. Okay, if I want to know the distance all the way around my circle, so let's say starting here, going all the way around my circle back to that point, I call that my circumference. Circumference. That's just the fancy word for the perimeter of a circle. It's the exact same thing as perimeter, it just is for the circle. So the circumference. And we have 2 basic formulas for that. The first one is pi d, pi times diameter. The second one is 2 pi r, 2 pi r. Because remember, the diameter is the same as 2 times your radius. So if you're just given your radius, you multiply your radius by 2 and multiply it by pi. If you're given your diameter, just multiply your diameter by pi. Either way. So circumference is pi d or 2 pi r. Doesn't really matter which one you use, but you have to write one of those 2 when you start your problem for a figure. Okay, pi. Remember pi, that's just a special unit that mathematicians have when working with circles. All right, so that they explain it further in your book. You don't really need to worry about that. Just remember that it's part of the formula. Okay, so pi, when we are using it with our calculations, we round it to 3.14. It keeps going mathematically, the digits keep going, but I'm going to round it to 3.14. So if I want to know, for example, the circumference of this circle, I know that my diameter is 4, so I'm going to say C for circumference. Oops, make my C a little bigger. Is pi d. So C equals 3.14 times 4. Do the math. I got a little sloppy there. So it's 12.56 would be your circumference. Okay, if I want to know the area of my circle, the formula for area is pi times r squared. Pi times r squared. So if you know the circle's diameter but not the radius, you have to divide your diameter by 2 so that you have your radius. Then you put it into your formula. Pi times r squared. Remember, when something is squared, that means you multiply it by itself. So in this circle right here, area equals pi r squared. Pi we know is 3.14. R we know is 2, and it's squared. We do our squaring first, and we have 3.14 times 4, which is 12.56, okay? This time it happened out that our circumference and area are the same, but that doesn't happen all the time. Okay, I'm going to erase this so that our board is a little bit less cluttered for as we move on. We're going to use our knowledge of circles to solve slightly more complicated figures. So let's look at this one right here. Angle a little bit better. Okay. So in this figure, I want to know the area of this figure. And I'm going to say the dimensions are in meters. Lines that look parallel are indeed parallel. Okay, so this up here is a 5 if you can't see that number very well. 5, 7, and a radius of 2. So looking at this figure, I have to divide it into pieces that I know the formulas for. So I can see that this is not a rectangle right here. So I'm going to divide it so that it becomes more of a rectangle. Switch markers. Okay. So now I have a rectangle here. Boom. There's my rectangle. I'm left with a triangle over here, and I have a semicircle over here. Remember that a semicircle is half a circle. I'll find the areas of each piece and add them together for the total area. Let's start with this piece here. This is a triangle. So write my formula, 1/2 base times height. My base, well, what is it? It's not 7, it's not 5. I know that from here to here is 5, just like up here. The whole thing is 7, so the leftover piece is 2. So my base is 2. Okay, my height for this piece, we'll come over here to find the height. I know that my radius is 2, so that means from here to here is 2, and here to here is 2. So my total from the top to the bottom, it's my diameter. It's 4. So my height is 4. Multiply 1/2 times 2 is 1. Excuse me. Times 4 is 4. So it's 4 meters squared. That right there. Now for my rectangle. My formula is A equals base times height. My base I know is 5. And my height is 4. So my area is 20 meters squared.